Have you ever wondered if there's like a real formula for happiness? I'm not talking about just a good mood, but that deep, lasting, spiritual kind of joy. Well, believe it or not, almost 1,000 years ago, the incredible philosopher Al-Ghazali basically laid out a blueprint for it in his masterpiece, The Alchemy of Happiness. So today, let's dive in and see if we can unpack his ancient wisdom for our own lives. Now, Al-Ghazali didn't just see himself as a philosopher writing a book. No, he saw himself as an alchemist. But he wasn't interested in turning lead into gold. His work is all about something way more valuable. It's a practical guide for transforming our own souls, all the raw, messy parts of us, into something pure, precious, and genuinely happy. Okay, this one sentence right here, this is the absolute core of the whole thing. It's the master key. Al-Ghazali is telling us that if you want to understand ultimate reality, if you want to find God, you have to start by unlocking the mysteries inside your own self. The journey, he's saying, isn't out there somewhere. It's an inward one. So what exactly is this alchemy he's talking about? Well, it's a powerful metaphor for spiritual purification. The idea is that our ordinary self, with all its flaws and desires, is like a piece of lead. But through knowledge and real discipline, we can actually transform that base metal into spiritual gold. And that gold, that's a state of pure, lasting joy. It's pretty simple, right? You can't change something you don't understand. And that's why the very first ingredient in this whole recipe, the foundation of everything, is self-knowledge. But what is this self we're supposed to get to know? Well, according to Al-Ghazali, it's a little more complicated than you might think. See, according to Al-Ghazali, our self isn't just one thing. It's this complex mix of 4 different parts. You've got your physical body, obviously. Then you have the divine spirit, which he calls a breath from God. And out of that mix, you get 2 competing forces. The soul, which is always being pulled down toward the body's desires, and the spiritual heart, which is always reaching up toward the spirit. And that tug of war, that constant push and pull inside us, is the key to understanding everything else. And this just nails the central conflict, doesn't it? Part of us has the attributes of a beast. We're driven by hunger, by sleep, by basic physical needs. But another part of us has the attributes of an angel. It longs for knowledge, for beauty, for a connection to the divine. And real self-knowledge starts when you can look at yourself and recognize, yep, I've got both of these natures fighting it out inside me. So, this brings us to the real work of this alchemy, a great internal battle. This isn't about fighting some enemy out in the world. The real struggle is for mastery inside your own being. And it all comes down to one question. Which nature are you going to let run the show? The beast or the angel? Al-Ghazali uses this incredible image of a mirror. He says if we just ignore this internal fight and let our base instincts take over, our mirror of self, our ability to see who we truly are, gets completely covered in rust and dust. We literally can't see ourselves clearly anymore. We get cut off from our higher nature, and we lose our sense of who we are and why we're here. So what's causing all this rust and dust to build up? Al-Ghazali has a name for them. He calls them the destroyers. These are the vices, the bad habits that corrupt our soul and slam the door shut on our path to happiness. And here they are, the main culprits. Vices like gluttony, pride, envy, all of these pop up when our lower animal nature is calling the shots. But the one he really warns us about, the one he says is the root of so many others, is the love of the world. That obsessive attachment to material stuff that makes us forget the bigger picture. To really drive this point home, he tells this brilliant parable. Imagine a ship docks at this beautiful island. The captain says they're only stopping for a little while. The smartest passengers, they get off, do what they need to do, and get right back on the ship, grabbing the best seats for the rest of the trip. Then you have a second group. They get distracted. They start wandering around, looking at the pretty flowers and listening to the birds, getting lost in the pleasures of the world. By the time they finally get back to the ship, all the good seats are gone. They have to squeeze into the dark, uncomfortable parts for the rest of the voyage. But then there's a third group. And these folks, they go even further. They get totally obsessed with the island, collecting shiny pebbles and heavy rocks, worldly possessions. They get so wrapped up in gathering all this stuff that they completely forget about the ship, and it sails without them, leaving them stranded, lost on the island forever. It's a pretty stark warning about where we put our focus, isn't it? Okay, but it is not all doom and gloom, I promise. Just like there are destroyers, there are also deliverers. These are the virtues that are the antidote to all that rust. They're the polishing agents that clean up the mirror of our soul and lead us towards, well, salvation. These are the qualities that show up when our higher, angelic nature is in charge. Virtues like patience, gratitude, and contentment, they aren't just nice ideas. For Al-Ghazali, they are the actual practical tools you need for this spiritual alchemy. What he's really saying is that our tiny daily choices to be tolerant instead of angry or grateful instead of envious, those are the very actions that are either rusting or polishing our soul. It's those choices that create the balance we need for real happiness. And this finally brings us to the endgame, the whole point of all this hard internal work. After we've gotten to know ourselves, battled our vices, and practiced these virtues, what is the ultimate prize? What's the gold at the end of this whole alchemical process? So, after all that effort, polishing the mirror, trying to balance our inner natures, what's the reward? Well, according to Al-Ghazali, the answer is the very definition of happiness itself. And here is the absolutely profound payoff. The ultimate happiness, the truest heaven, isn't a physical place with rivers and gardens. It's a state of being. It's when you're able to actually perceive and enjoy the beauty of the divine presence. Just contemplating that beauty, that becomes your heaven. It's a joy so complete that literally nothing else can compare. And let's be crystal clear, this is not the kind of happiness you get from a delicious meal or a beautiful sunset. This is a much higher form of joy, one that is completely separate from our physical senses. This is the happiness of the spiritual heart. It's the deep, fulfilling joy of the angelic part of us finally getting to do what it was made to do. You know, Al-Ghazali's 1,000-year-old guide isn't just a philosophy. It's a choice. It asks every single one of us to take an honest look at the rust and dust on our own mirror. So the final question isn't for him, it's for you. Knowing you have both the animal and the angel inside you, which parts of yourself will you choose to transform?